Hey guys, Ben Paint here, and today we are back for another video at Teamsport Cardiff, doing another Monday night social, and the last video you will see before the BIKC takes place. You can see we're just about to get underway here under the red flags, and we're off. We're starting in third position, and I did get a decent start there to maintain the place. However, just before we jump into the rest of the video, if you do enjoy it, could you please hit the like button, as it really does help me out. And please could you hit the subscribe button as well, as I really do appreciate it. We've been having a lot of love recently, and it really does motivate me to make as many videos as I can. But moving back into the video, you can see me taking my hands off the wheel a number of times here, and I realised that pretty quickly my kart was actually a defective kart. You can see as we come around the bottom corner here how much my hand is turning to the left in order to keep the kart in a straight line. The kart was always pulling to the right hand side. So at this point I was really trying to understand what was wrong with the kart, if I could use it, and at this point I was trying to decide whether to dip into the pits and collect a new kart. However, obviously this is a race session, as we do get a red flag here and have to stop. I was trying to decide whether to come into the pits and change my kart or just stick with what I had, and I thought that in terms of practicing for the BIKC, I thought I'd stick with the kart, because on the day you don't know what you're going to be given. So I thought in a real race situation in terms of the BIKC, I'm not going to be able to change my kart, I'm going to have to just stick with what I've got. And so I decided to push on regardless, and we are, as you can see there in the top left, our first lap was a 36.194, and we come across the line here on our second lap with a 1 minute 31.857, which is clearly a lot different due to the red flag. So here I was trying to gather some momentum here and try and tag along the back of these two having a little battle, but as we come to the top here there is a second red flag, and I'm not entirely sure why, but we do get underway once again, just trying to get our head focused and stay in the right frame of mind as we go around. There's a lot of stoppages at the beginning, and this obviously is quite difficult to deal with when you're trying to just put down some consistent laps, especially at the beginning, to heat the tyres up and make the kart run as well as it can. Obviously with this car it really was difficult with it steering all the way to the right at all times. So here I was really trying to tag along the back. You can see in the top left there that we come across the line of a 1 minute and 2.755, which obviously is completely off the pace once again due to the red flags. Now here I really was just trying to, after all those interruptions, just trying to get into my rhythm, just trying to find the correct lines just to try and catch up to these two guys that were having a little bit of a battle up ahead. And the driver in first place was actually another fellow heavyweight driver, so someone that I wanted to try and stay close to and try and keep up with, especially as the BIKC is in a day or so from the time of recording this video, and I really wanted to try and prove to myself that I could keep up with him and put in a good performance, as he is one of the better drivers in the category. You can see there me shaking my head again as we come up the ramp from just not really understanding why the kart kept turning to the right. It was really confusing me. So here trying to stay as tidy as possible, get into the apex of the two corners there, the hairpins, and once again getting a really good exit out of the bottom hairpin, but unfortunately not having the bottom end speed to catch up to the two guys ahead. And this is something I was worried about. I didn't want to lose sight of the two ahead and let them run off into the distance. You can see there driver in number 10 making a little bit of a mistake, and there again on the bottom hairpin allow me to tag along behind him. We did come across the line on that occasion with a 35.718, so the times are coming down slowly but surely, and this is something that I wanted to continue to do throughout the rest of the session. And in practice I actually managed to get a 35.3 second lap, I believe, and I really wanted to try and make my way down to the lowest of the 35 second category as I could, because I really felt that that was the pace that I was running on this session. You can see the driver in front of me being really untidy, and it was really allowing me to keep up with him. We come across the line once again at 35.598, and I'm not sure if the driver ahead of me was just being really untidy due to the pressure that I was putting under him by being consistently in his rear view mirror, so to speak. So there was again, you see sliding them by being really smooth on the pedals, and with the steering angle I'm able to close up so much time through the corners rather than down the straights. Obviously down the straights I'm losing a little bit of time. I kept checking back because there was actually another driver on my tail at this point. I didn't want to give him the opportunity to make a move on me, by going a little bit wider there through the complex section. It's allowed me to have a little bit of a better run over the start finish straight, and again going really narrow to the hairpin that actually allowed me to really get a good drive out of the corner, and that's the line that I feel is the best for me at my weight, and it really does help rather than going wide and trying to take a slower approach. It really does help me up the ramp when I chuck it in a little bit more, which is sort of against my usual driving style, but it seems to work here, so I keep on using it. And we carry on throughout the session here, still in third position, still trying to make ground on the guys ahead. They're not really gaining any time, and I'm not really managing to gain any time on them either. The driver ahead hits the side barrier there, and that allowed me to close up quite a lot, but I also managed to clip it, so I didn't actually gain any time. You can see how much time the two drivers ahead are actually gaining on me up the ramp, and this is something that I always seem to try and deal with in my head mentally, but it is always a little bit annoying to see. You can see once again the driver getting all sorts of shapes through the two hairpins. It's allowed me to really get up on his bumper here, and I was really trying to look for just an opportunity where he makes a big mistake for me to sort of lunge down the inside, try and make an overtake here once again, trying to be as tidy as possible through the complex section. Come across the line there, 35.471, so not as fast as our fastest lap so far, which was a 35.289, and this is something that I really wanted to get down a little bit more if I could, really try and close the gap to the two drivers ahead. Here I was driving a little bit more defensively, as the person behind me, you can't quite see him on the camera footage, but he was actually looking after coming up the ramp before I moved down the inside into the first hairpin, so I was driving a little bit more of a defensive line. Obviously that compromised me a bit to the drivers ahead, and this is something that I didn't really want to happen, but you can see through this bottom corner here how much time I'm gaining on the two drivers ahead. Come across the line again, a 35.306, so being extremely consistent in this one, but just not quite having the pace that I felt I had. You see me looking across there at one of my saving graces, which I would always like to see, and that's a back marker, and obviously when there's a back marker ahead, you know there's always going to be a bit of trouble for the drivers that are bundling their way through. So here I was hoping that the back marker that was at the back here would almost slow down or compromise the two drivers that are ahead of me, and sort of give me an opportunity just to really close up and maybe even go for an overtake, as that's usually a big problem that occurs whenever the drivers are going around at a high pace. So I'm coming across the line, another 35.3 second lap, so as I said, being extremely consistent, it really was allowing me to stay up in contact with the two drivers ahead. You see how narrow I'm going at this point in the race, just because the driver behind me was putting me under a little bit of pressure, and I really didn't want to let him go for a lunge down the inside, maybe fail on the overtake, and then cause us both to be compromised later from the two ahead, as I really wanted to try and keep up with them, try and put some good laps. So you can see how close I'm getting, pretty much nudging the driver ahead through. They're getting a little bit out of shape again, another 35.3 second lap, so really being consistent. You can see how much time I'm gaining through the corners, but it's just the straights where I'm losing all the time that I'm making up. Trying to take a little bit of a narrow line there, trying to minimise the track length, again going narrow on that corner to be defensive to the driver behind, and really maximising the exit after the second hairpin. You can see I do go in a little bit too hot there on the driver ahead and give him a little bit of a nudge, so I thought I'd back off and let him carry on, as I didn't really want to be penalised for that, and I felt that I did come in a little bit hot and it was a bit of a rough move. So we do come across the line once again, a 35.638, which is obviously a bit slower, and obviously here we go, coming up the ramp, a couple of back markers here. You see one there just going nicely out of the way and allowing us to go through, and then here I tried to make a move down the inside, go side by side with the driver ahead, sort of let him back through, get loaded a little bit from behind. Here I'm side by side, I see a little gap and just sort of force my way through. It wasn't a huge hit, and we come down here side by side, and I managed to just get ahead here, and as we come around the corner there's actually a red flag, and it's actually for the driver that was next to me. And here I thought that I'd actually caused the driver to go into the wall, but when the driver rejoined he was actually positioned behind me, so I think it was the driver behind me that sort of punched him into the wall, caused him to spin out. So here once again on the restart I was now up into second place, and I was hoping to catch up to the person in first. However, there was a back marker in between us, and this is something that I was really worried about, because I didn't know if he was going to try and play defensive or play ball and move out the way. So here I really was side by side trying to look for a move past. I didn't want first place just to race off into the sunset. Obviously this was the person in last place or second last place, so I didn't really want to get stuck behind them for too long. See how much slower I'm going through the bottom section here, but luckily for me, the person in first also gets compromised by the person ahead of him as well. So luckily the back marker's causing a little bit of carnage here for not just me but also the driver ahead. So here are once again just being a little bit heavy. I was losing so much time up the ramp, it was really difficult to actually try and get by. Luckily he leaves the door open very wide there, it allows me just to slide in, and then once again the driver there just ahead of me just going all over the place there on the brakes, and I tried to make a move down the inside but unfortunately I made contact and that slowed me down. Here they go really wide, and I thought for a really opportunistic move and just to slide down the inside there on a little bit of a section of the track which I really wouldn't usually go for an overtake, but luckily I managed to pull it off as my sights were set on the driver ahead. Obviously at this point in the race there was only a couple of laps left and I didn't really want to be left in this position where I was quite far behind, so I really wanted to focus on just, if not overtaking the driver ahead, just trying to get as close as possible just to prove to myself that I had the pace on him, especially when it comes to the BIKC locals. I know I'm going to be racing him in the heavyweight category, so I wanted to prove to myself that I did have the pace on him in a race situation. Here you can see through the corners how much time I'm actually gaining on him compared to where we were previously in the lap, and you can see once again coming across the line a really good lap of 35.173. so clearly I had my running shoes on at this point. I was really trying to chase down the driver in first place, trying to be as clean and as smooth as possible, especially coming around these top two hairpins, trying to make sure that the back of the cart didn't slide out by being as smooth as possible with both the pedals and the steering angle, really getting the hairpin right there on the bottom of the track. And you can see how much bigger the driver ahead is looking compared to where they were just a lap or so ago, and so I probably gained about half a second at this point, which I was really happy with. We come across the line again at 35.139, so some really quick laps now. The times are coming down a lot compared to where they were previously in the session, and this is something I really want to build on, carry on going for, trying to stay as close to each apex as I possibly could. And luckily for myself, I did see another back marker up ahead, or a couple of back markers, and I thought in the last few laps, if the drivers actually managed to hold up the driver in first, I could actually make a bit of an opportunistic move down the inside and try and make a little bit of a cheeky overtake. But here you can see how much time I've actually managed to catch up due to them being behind the back marker. Here we come across the line with a 35.081, which was in fact my fastest lap of the session. The driver in first there going for a move down the inside of that back marker, and I just decided to follow him through there. So unfortunately that back marker didn't quite compromise the driver in first much as I wanted them to, but it has allowed me to come almost bumper to bumper with them now, and you can see I'm really bearing down on them. And I think this pressure was sort of building on the driver ahead. They're making a few more mistakes they were previously in the race, and this allowed me to really close out. You can see how close we are through the complex section now, pretty much pushing each other through, not quite making contact, just being a little bit slower. You can see a 35.643 for being slowed by the drivers ahead. You can see there he makes a move to the inside. I have actually got the overspeed on him through the ramp, and here just squeezed down the inside as well, bumper to bumper as I said. And this was a really close race. I was really enjoying this battle. I was really looking for an opportunity to overtake, and I was trying to, if I was a little bit closer I would have gone for the inside move there, because the driver really likes to stick to the right hand side before they swing in on that hairpin. We come round the right hander here, the part of the track where I'm gaining the most time, but unfortunately as we do come round the last corner, I see on the left hand side the checkered flag. I see me lifting my head in disbelief. I gained so much time and I thought I did so well, so close, but unfortunately it just wasn't to be. However, this does bring us to the end of the video, and I would like to wish all you guys competing in the BIKC this week the very best of luck. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and if you have, could you please hit the like button and subscribe for more in the future. The next video is going to be a big one. As always, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Take care.